Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Kelly Roberts, and I read the essay by Anne Miles concerning Mary Dyer. Miles contextualizes her essay with the historical figure Anne Hutchinson, who we know is a very celebrated and significant historical figure as far as a woman who would stand up to the patriarchy in the Puritan church, the patriarchy in the Puritan culture in New England in general. She's also become a symbol of women's liberation. She's a symbol of equity and fighting against established gender roles. She was banished from the colony for her role in the antinomian crisis. However, her best friend, Mary Dyer, is a lesser known individual who is equally powerful and impactful and was ultimately executed for her beliefs as a Quaker. Quakers believe that there's equity between people, that gender roles aren't really that definitive. And if you look at the common law governing Puritan New England, we know it's English common law, which favors private property being sent through the male line. We understand that all inheritance and dowries and wealth coming from women go into the male name. We take the male's surname. Therefore, Puritan New England and the Puritan Church, especially John Winthrop, is very interested in keeping this kind of order. And we can see how his views really contrast with Anne Hutchinson and Mary Dyer's, in the sense that they believed in that the grace of God could be the only thing that brought you salvation. It was by God's grace only that you could get to heaven and achieve eternal life. And although Winthrop believes this, he also believes that this could be attained by doing good works, paying alms. This ends up sounding a lot like hawking indulgences to me with the Catholic Church, but I'll just leave that there. And you can see how he would find a woman like Hutchison or Dyer to be very out of order. Mary Dyer comes into the picture because she has a monstrous birth. Now, reproduction, anything that is unexplainable at this point in time, storms, crop failure, women's reproduction really is central to this, is part of this culture of fear, because it's all unexplained. And in the Puritan world, anything unexplainable translates to the wrath of God. So if you were to have a monstrous birth, you must be doing something wrong, when really we know, as the modern world has progressed, that scientifically childbirth is probably the leading cause of death, until we really started to have antibiotics and modern medicine. And in a way, midwives have been saving women's lives for centuries and centuries, and yet they were really, it was real skeptical of their role in Puritan New England, because if you were a midwife and you saved a breech baby, or you had a malformed birth, if there's anything strange going on with reproduction, you're honestly usually called a witch. And in his book, This Republic of Nature, historian John Feig has a wonderful essay called Satan in the Land that really talks about this extreme culture of fear that centers around women's reproductive capabilities, and oftentimes results in them being labeled a witch. He used an example of these neighbors who are feuding, and one day they find their cow has died and it's kind of contorted, and of course it was the woman who's next door that looked upon them as a witch. And I think sometimes this is because women had this life-giving quality. Very few men, in fact only one, was ever accused and convicted of being a witch, and that's because he just stood up for his wife and said there's no way she's a witch, so he got executed as well. So you can see how the antinomian crisis could actually contextualize these extreme and very definitive gender roles that were really classic in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Another historian to look into this is Carol Carlson, and her book Devil in the Shape of a Woman is groundbreaking and argues essentially that if you were a woman and you were going to have inherit property without a male heir, you were very, very likely to be accused, tried, convicted, and executed as a witch, because that's out of order. And also, it would upset the gender roles. It would, and private property is how you had voting rights in Puritan New England. It becomes a very complex issue, and obviously, because of English common law, women were left to be in the place where they were, which is why essentially Mary Dyer was executed for coming back over and over and preaching her Quaker beliefs. And I thank you for your time.